Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name is Rohan, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at One Championship's lightweight world champion Christian Lee and discussing just how well I think he does in the UFC. Now, before I get into this video, I think it's very important to note that in One Championship, the lightweight weight division is 170 pounds because they have strict hydration rules outside of competition. But I think, for all intents and purposes, if Christian Lee was fighting in the West, he'll be fighting at 155. He wouldn't be a welterweight. He would be cutting weight, which is standard practice in mixed martial arts. So I'm going to pair him up against the UFC's 155 division. Now, secondly, before I get into this video, I've obviously done a video for Ong Lan Sang and Angela Lee and how they do against the UFC's best. Those videos are on some of the best performances on my channel, so obviously it's a good theme for me to continue. But if you haven't checked them out, I'm going to advise you guys to go check them out. And finally, the final point I make just before I get into the video, that if you're a UFC fan or a mixed martial arts fan and you only watch the UFC product for whatever reason, that's completely up to you. But what I will say to you is that if you enjoy the UFC product, and I love the UFC product, I've watched every single UFC card ever, I've watched every fight on UFC ever since the beginning. I love the UFC product, but you're doing yourself a real disservice by not giving yourself the opportunity to see some of the more incredible mixed martial artists that are out there, and seeing the talents that are available. Vadim Nemkov, for my money, is the best light heavyweight in the world. He just beat Phil Davis at the time of recording this last night for the second time. And there's loads of fighters out there that could come to the UFC and make shockwaves. Look at what Michael Chandler's doing right now. So I think if you're a MMA fan, you should definitely give One Championship a attempt or try, and check out some of the other cards and other promotions. You know, KSW does great stuff over in Europe. Ryzen's doing a lot of fun stuff. You know, there's loads of great stuff going on. But anyways, without further ado, let me get into this video. So before I get into the matching him up against UFC fighters, let's talk about Christian Lee. Christian Lee is still only 22 years old. He's only 22 years old. He's of course Angela Lee's brother, and his young sister Victoria Lee are all One Championship fighters. Angela Lee is a superstar in One Championship, so a world champion, currently taking off some time for maternity, so congratulations to her and her family. But Christian Lee is only 22 years old, and he comes from a bloodline of fighting. But he's already had 18 professional mixed martial arts fights with a record of 15 wins and 3 losses. Christian Lee stands at 5'11" tall, which makes him a taller lightweight. And in One Championship, for some reason, you always struggle to find a reach, but he has around a 74, 75 inch reach, maybe 76, I would say, just judging based on, having followed mixed martial arts for as long as I have, looking at his frame, the distance that he seems to manage against his opponent. So I would say that's about right. So he would be a bigger lightweight. And he's still only 22 years old, so he's definitely going to grow into his frame as well. He's going to carry more size, and with that, there'll be some more power in his frame. Christian Lee's professional record, as I mentioned, is 15 wins and 3 losses. But what's very interesting to me is that 10 of those wins are by KO and 4 of those wins are by submission. So that means only 1 of those wins have gone to decision. He is a prolific finisher, very dangerous on the ground. He has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he has a background in boxing, Muay Thai, all of that. So he's very well rounded, incredibly talented everywhere, and he's nowhere near his roof of talent. He's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Now, recently, he said that he's the best lightweight in the world. One Championship's obviously promoting that. Khabib Nurmagomedov's obviously retired. So there's some dispute going on right now, but I wouldn't necessarily put him as the best lightweight in the world. But we're going to talk about that now anyways. When we're talking about the best fighters in the UFC, let's go through the rankings. Now, I could go in there and match him up with some of the tougher guys in the top 15, guys like Islam Makhachev, etc., that I think would be really tough outs for him, which is funny for me because I think some of the guys in the top 1 to 7 of the UFC's lightweight division are actually stylistically better matchups for Christian Lee. So let's talk about that. So at number 1, you got Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, the 32-year-old lightweight, who is now 27 and 6 as a mixed martial artist, has been around for an incredibly long time. Dustin Poirier is a very durable fighter with great boxing, carries good power in his hands, and he's got a good all-round game. In terms of weaknesses that we've seen with Dustin Poirier, we've seen him get submitted by Khabib Nurmagomedov on the ground, and we've seen him get clipped and finished by fighters like Michael Johnson, Conor McGregor previously. We've seen him get dropped in other fights. He has shown himself to be a little bit chilly in fights. I think he's very durable, but he has shown that he can be clocked and he can be put out. If you don't believe me, watch the Michael Johnson fight. Now, Christian Lee is a fighter that hits very hard, and he has a very good ground game. So in both areas, to Dustin Poirier, he is dangerous. I also feel like he's a more dynamic fighter. I think at this point Dustin Poirier is quite happy to rely on his stand-up. He trusts his power, and obviously he's now incorporated the calf kicks. But I think he would prefer his chances on the feet against a fighter like Christian Lee, who's very, very dangerous on the ground. I think when we're looking at that fight stylistically, I think Dustin Poirier would probably win that fight, but we're looking at a very, very tough fight for Dustin Poirier, and I think a fight where he would have issues everywhere. Going down the line, next you have Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is an absolute berserker of a fighter. He carries big power in his hands. He's got powerful leg kicks, and again, much like Dustin Poirier, he prefers the stand-up realm of things. I think this is another fighter that we're going to be looking at that's going to be causing Christian Lee a lot of problems on the feet. I think he's going to be able to clock Christian Lee. I think he'll be able to hurt him. Justin Gaethje is very durable, has a great chin, and he's hard to take down. Although Khabib did make it look easy, I don't think that Christian Lee has the wrestling of Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think that Justin Gaethje would probably get the win over Christian Lee. Then next we've got Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is another fighter that I think very highly of. Charles Oliveira is decorated all round. He's got great Muay Thai. He's got great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think on the ground he would have a decisive advantage against Christian Lee. On the feet is where it gets interesting, because much like Poirier previously, Charles Oliveira has shown himself to be a bit chinny. He has shown that he can be clocked, he can be hurt, and he can be put away. Obviously, Paul Felder was able to have great success against him. I don't think that Charles Oliveira would be able to submit Christian Lee. He weren't able to submit, as I just mentioned, Paul Felder, but and I think Christian Lee has a much higher level of ground game than someone like Paul Felder. So I think this fight will be fought on the feet again. I think Christian Lee will probably avoid the ground as well. But I think that's a 50-50 fight, because Christian Lee hits so hard and Charles Oliveira is there to be hit. Now, Charles Oliveira is a guy that I think very highly of. Obviously, you guys know that. I've picked him in his last two fights. I've done breakdowns for his Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson fights. They're on my channel if you don't believe me. I've picked him in both of those fights. And with Kevin Lee, I even picked how he's going to win it. So I was pretty proud of that. But I think that's a 50-50 fight. I'd probably lean towards Charles Oliveira at this point because of experience alone. But in a year or two, who knows? That's very, very interesting. Going down the line, we have Tony Ferguson, who at this stage in his career, I think he's definitely over the hill, past his prime. I think he's not got that same snap in his punches that he used to. I think he might be able to prove something against Beneil Dariush and kind of prove me wrong. But I would venture that he's kind of over the hill at this point. I think Christian Lee could outstrike Tony Ferguson. We've seen that fighters like Lando Vannata can hurt Tony Ferguson. I think Christian Lee has much better stand-up than Lando Vannata. I think he's much better on the ground. I think Christian Lee will be a real problem for someone like Tony Ferguson. Actually, I would lean towards Christian Lee to get the victory. Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler is a great fighter with great power in his hands, great stand-up and great wrestling. Not a particularly stand-up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, but he's got great stand-up and he's got great wrestling where he can employ ground and pound. I think he would get to decide where the fight goes. I don't think Christian Lee has the ability to take him down. On the feet, I think Chandler and Christian Lee is kind of even. I'll probably give the edge to Chandler, kind of. But with Michael Chandler, this is a fighter that we're looking at that has kinks in his armor. He's a guy that has mental lapses, and we've seen in fights previously that he should have won. He's lost, like Will Brooks, he lost to him twice. He obviously had that unfortunate moment with Brent Primus. That's not really his fault, but the Patricio Pitbull fight, he should have been able to wade out a much smaller Pitbull and be able to get the win, but instead he ended up flat out cold on his face. So that's a fight that Christian Lee would have his opportunities in. Then the further down you go, you've got guys like Conor McGregor, who I think Christian Lee can most certainly beat on the ground, and on the feet he would be a real problem for him. But Conor McGregor, I think, would probably get the win at this stage. Now, it sounds like I've picked everyone over Christian Lee, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of those fights are 50-50 fights, and in all of those fights, and this is what's key, in all of those fights, Christian Lee has opportunities to win all of those fights. Christian Lee can go into any of those fights and beat any of those guys. And here's what's important to note. Dustin Poirier is 32, Justin Gaethje is 32, Michael Chandler is 34, about to be 35, Tony Ferguson's 37, Charles Oliveira's 31, Conor McGregor's 32. These are all guys 9 or 10 years or more older than Christian Lee. Give it a year, 2 years. Christian Lee is not even hit his prime yet. He's going to keep growing whilst these fighters are going to start to decline. Christian Lee is most certainly a credible talent that could shine in the UFC. If you was to give Christian Lee a year or 2 years, I think we're looking at a UFC top contender, maybe even a champion in 3 to 6 years. That's how good I think Christian Lee is. Now, If we're talking about the rest of the division, I think he beats a lot of them. I just thought I'd go through, top 5, or in this case, top 6, and give my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, remember to comment below and let me know how you think Christian Lee would do against these guys. If you haven't seen Christian Lee fight, well, let me tell you something about Christian Lee. He's beaten some severe top fighters, guys like Timothy Nastayukin, who had just knocked out Eddie Alvarez, who was one fight removed from fighting a war with Dustin Poirier right at that time. So that's how good Timothy Nastayukin is, and Christian Lee just stopped him in one round, I think within 2 minutes. So he just beat Timothy Nastayukin. He beat Sajid Hussein Arslan Aliyev, who's an incredible talent, great ground game, a dominating wrestler, big power in his hands. He's a top tier, top fighter. Christian Lee's beaten Shinya Aoki, a legend of the game and a world champion in about 3 or 4 different organizations. A guy who's beaten some of the best fighters in the lightweight division's history, including Eddie Alvarez himself. So this is a guy in Christian Lee who has wins over some incredible talents. He's got lots of experience at this stage already. He's still only 22 years old and is incredibly well-rounded and dynamic. Check him out. If you haven't already, go over to One Championship, check him out. Maybe let them know I sent you over. Who knows? Maybe they'll give me a job out of this. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're new, remember to like, subscribe, share the video, share it out for me, especially because I need to get some more viewership to my platform. Trying to grow the platform. I think at this stage I deserve to be monetized, so now I need to get my viewing time up, so I need your help to help me do that. Anyways guys, thank you for watching. I'm Rohan and this is Mindful Combat.